What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, and I'm super excited to talk about the San Francisco 49ers. If you cannot see the giant smile on my face right now as we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers. You're rather in one camp or the other. I mean, is it the glory years back to Joe Montana, Steve Young days, Bill Walsh? Maybe we're seeing some parallels here between the new 49ers, the old 49ers. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys see that too. Maybe Kevole doesn't see it. I think Kevole is a guy that's not going to see it. And that's where I want to start. I want to start with the guy that's not the believer in Jimmy G, not the believer in Jimmy Gucci Garop, not believer in Jimmy Garoppolo who dates porn stars. Go ahead, Kevole.
We need to talk about these nicknames you're giving them.
Yeah, Gucci Garoppolo.
Well, the last one is accurate. But.
Well, let's look at this team. I think that a lot of people are quite excited about Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he went pretty much undefeated once he started last year. He's became the face of the franchise. He's the it guy in San Francisco.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but he's become like one of the stars of the NFL overnight. Like, I see him all over Twitter now. Like, everybody loves this guy.
Well, maybe that's because he's dating a porn star.
Yeah. Well, when you date porn stars.
No, I mean, it was even before that. Like, his first game, you saw people just jumping on the bandwagon like I've never seen. It was almost like Darth Vader turned good or something. Like, it was incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah, and you know what? I guess he's one of those guys. He's an exciting guy. He's got the face. He's like the Connor McJesus of San Francisco. He's the Messiah that has come to save the San Francisco 49ers. And there is a lot to like about the San Francisco 49ers. I think they've got a pretty strong linebacking crew. I think Reuben Foster is going to be an interesting case in middle linebacker, coming off of pretty major injuries, some personal issues. Malcolm Smith will also be an interesting guy. Richard Sherman, of course, when we talk about this, that's a great acquisition.
Your boy, Kev.
For the 49ers. He's the smartest guy in the NFL. I'm not going to dispute that. He's going to bring an instant spark and an instant respectability, especially if he's healthy, which is going to be a key part of this conversation. Their offensive line, the left side, I like. Joe Staley, Laken Tomlinson, I think are good pieces. Right side, I'm not too sure about. And I think in terms of skill positions, I know that we got some videos of Jerick McKinnon doing some lifting too, and he's looking good, and we're all excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, he looks shredded. I just want to put that out there. Oh, my God. I don't care if he's a great football player or not. That guy is shredded. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of people in San Francisco. They seem to be out there, and they're all looking good. And they've got Mitch Milani excited. They've probably got Dylan excited. They certainly got AC excited because he's got them at 10 wins over here. The 49ers are a better team. I'm not going to dispute that. They are a better team, but they are not a playoff team. I still have them at 7-9. I think that one of the things that I think people know here is there is an experience factor with this team that I think will start to play at the end here. And I also think there is a depth issue on this team as well. They got Cassius Marsh as a backup. They got Jeremiah.
He's terrible. I'm just putting that. He's terrible. I agree with you.
I wonder why you say that. I wonder why you say that.
This is a team that if they get injured, like we talked about with the LA Rams, if there is injuries, I don't know if they have the depth to ultimately compete at the end with some of the tougher teams in the NFC that are going to be playoff contending teams. And at the end of the day, the 49ers are coming. I'm not disputing that they're not coming, but this is not the year that they're making the playoffs. I have them at 7-9, third in the NFC West.
Third? Okay, yeah. Let's see that. All right. My thing is here. We know if you haven't checked it out already, go check it out. Great video about the Rams. Okay, we had a big discussion about the Rams. And throughout the whole video, I mean, I thought Dylan was writing a love letter to Sean McVay. It was just very in-depth.
Going to play a violin.
It was poetic, wasn't it?
It was
Sean McVay.
Yeah, it was incredible. I would like to extend those things to Kyle Shanahan.
Okay.
Everybody knows how much I like Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan's one of my favorite coaches. He's probably my second favorite coach outside of Bill Belichick. I just love the way this guy schemes offensive football. And I think with Kyle Shanahan, we're going to see a similar thing. Now that he has his quarterback, we saw that they went 5-0 with Jimmy Garoppolo. Once he got that guy, they were a good football team. And I think this year, we're going to see what we saw from McVay last year with Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan this year. And just looking at this team, we've talked about the centerpieces, Shanahan at coach, Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, and it's going to be his first full year. So there's still questions about that. They do play sort of a Seattle Seahawks sort of a system on defense. And I think they have the personnel to do so to a reasonable level. But I think with this team, it starts and it pretty much ends with the offense. The defense I'll talk about in a bit. But I think this offense, as I rank them this season, I think they're seventh strongest offense in the NFL. A lot of that has to do with scheme, quarterback, offensive line, which I think is stronger than Kev gave them credit for. I did like the pick in the first round of Mike McGlinchey at the right tackle. Joe Staley's very good at left tackle. They picked up Richburg from the Giants at center. So I think those are some very positive pieces, and I think it's a very underrated line. I think you have a very good fullback and a chess piece in Kyle Juszczyk that you can use a variety of ways. And Kyle Shanahan has been a huge proponent and person of bringing back the fullback into offenses in the NFL and the way that he uses those guys. Look back at his Atlanta days. George Kittle, I think, is a decent tight end. I think Jerick McKinnon is going to be a big upgrade over Carlos Hyde. Not just an upgrade, but a big upgrade because of all the things he can do, not only in the run game, but where Hyde wasn't very good in the passing game. You have Breida, who I think is a decent backup. Garcon is back from injury. That's going to be big because he's a veteran, very well respected, good route runner. I like Marquise Goodwin as a field stretcher. I think they have some depth at receiver with Robinson and Taylor and Pettis, who they drafted as well. So this offense I really like, and I think is going to be very strong, and they're going to win them a lot of games. Now, going to the defense, which I think is probably the question of the team. The biggest question to me is can any of their young players step up as pass rushers? I really like Buckner as a defensive tackle. He's a very good player, but he's not necessarily like a pass rusher. I want to see if Solomon Thomas makes the year 2 jump this year. Somebody like that to step up. They also have Armstead, who was drafted very high as well. I did like the ads that they picked up from LA, the Chargers. They picked up a defensive end who I always mispronounce his name. Toku. I don't know how to pronounce his name, to be quite honest with you. And also Corey Toomer, who is a very good linebacker, very good in coverage, and I think may even start on this team and was pretty underrated for the Chargers. And Kev brought up, I think their linebacking core is decent. I like Reuben Foster, very, very good in his rookie year. And I think he's a guy that can lead a defense. Secondary, I think, don't have a lot of well-known names. Of course, they have Richard Sherman, but actually they have some decent players. I mean, according to Pro Football Focus, Witherspoon was ranked 42nd in the league, which would be a top-tier second corner. Quan Williams was ranked 44th, which would also be a second-tier corner, a second corner on your team, but he's the third corner. So they have some decent pieces at corner, and if Sherman is what Sherman could be, then this secondary definitely takes a step up. Yeah. That's a big question. It's a big question, but I mean, even if he's like apart, like 75%, I still think you're getting a number one corner in the league. Jimmy Ward is moving to corner from safety. We'll see if that works out. Tart at safety was ranked 16th by Pro Football Focus, so top half safety in the league. So, I mean, they have a pretty underrated roster. It's very young. I understand that point, and it's kind of unproven. But I think if they can put it together, which is what I'm trying to project here, is that the 49ers will be good enough to make the playoffs. I have them finishing 10-6 and becoming a wild card team this year. I believe AC has the same thing, but I'm not quite sure if he has them in the wild card or not. But I have them at 10-6, and I think the 49ers are legit, and I think the hype is real, and I think we're going to see it on the field.
I think that this schedule is murder. I think that you're starting with the Vikings.
Really? I don't think it's that bad at all.
I think you got Kansas City.
It starts off rough, but I think towards the end they're going to pick up a lot of victories.
Green Bay. You got the Rams on Sunday Night Football. That's not an easy schedule. They got to get off to a good start to get to 10-6.
That's why that's why you said 6 losses.
I think that they're going to have a strong end to the season, which is why they're going to get to 10-6. I think they might start off as an average football team somewhere around like 3-3, 4-4. But I think they're going to finish strong because they have a lot of easier games towards the end of the season.
Some of the other teams that I think are competing for the NFC wildcard position, this is a team that cannot have a lot of injuries if they're going to compete.
But you can't necessarily predict injuries. You can talk about depth on a football team, but you can't just say Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get hurt in week 4.
No, that's like you can't. No, but that's not what I'm saying. But I think in terms of depth, I don't think the 49ers are in the depth of game that teams like the Falcons, the Panthers, Dylan's Cowboys even. I don't think the 49ers are in that level. I don't see it. That's why I have them at 7.
I believe this is why I have them in the playoffs. I believe they have the coach, they have the quarterback, and they have the leadership to get it done. Those are the 3 things you need in the NFL.
Are you going to sit here and tell me Jimmy G is better than Russell Wilson? Is this what you're telling me right now?
No, but the San Francisco 49ers are a much more talented football team than the Seattle.
Oh, well, I don't see it. I'm sorry.
Well, hold on. We'll get to that Seahawks. It will be 2 against 1. I am just going to.
Sure it will be.
Okay.
Probably will be.
Dylan, sort this out. Where are you? Are you on my side? Are you on Kev's side? Are you in the middle? Where are you?
I'm near your side, but I'm on the other side looking in. I'm at 10-6, but
what? Okay, you have another team that has like over 10 wins. That's not.
No. Listen.
You gotta have an NFC that's either.
Okay, listen. I have to explain myself. Okay, I will not exactly reveal who I have as this wild card, but I had 3 teams in this 6th seed going 10-6, or excuse me, 3 teams going 10-6, and I had to go by determinations of tiebreakers. So 1 team or 2 teams played against each other in a head-to-head matchup. So one of them automatically eliminated. So it was between the 49ers and my 6th seed. And then I went by conference record. And the conference record for the other team was 8-4, and the 49ers conference record was 7-5. That's my explanation. Okay. So by tiebreakers alone, the 49ers, I do not have making the playoffs. But
still, 10-6 and just missing the playoffs that's like right where I'm at.
That's pretty much where you're at, basically.
Yes.
I'm more on the Mitch side. Okay. Let me explain to you why I think the 49ers will be a good team this year. First off, Jimmy G should already retire. He's undefeated as a starter and has 2 Super Bowl.
He has 2 Super Bowl rings, never lost.
He needs to be the LeVar Ball. Sit home and make some money, okay? He made money at home just watching the Super Bowl, anyways.
Russell Wilson lost 1 Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo lost 0 Super Bowls. End of story.
Okay. I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm not that kind of guy. All right. Anyways, regardless. I really like what Jimmy G did, though. I mean, you look at him as a starter, 5-0 at the end of the year. I think there's a lot of talent that he brings to the table. And a combination of, I'm going to write a small, not a long love letter to Kyle Shanahan. I have to write this one a little bit smaller because the ink's almost out of my pen. But Kyle Shanahan, he made the Browns watchable. Brought up some really good players, especially Taylor Gabriel. Let's not forget about that. Then went to Atlanta, did his magic there. They didn't win, but they just had a really great offense with him leading the charge. And now he's going to this 49ers team with a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that is a match made in heaven for him. In terms of running back, I think he is an upgrade from Carlos Hyde. Like you said, Jerry McKinnon, I think is great. Obviously, we saw him mixed up with Latavius Murray, so some of the snaps are going to him. Maybe the question is he going to be able to carry the bulk of these balls given to him? But I think he's going to do a very good job. I like what I see. Offensive line, I'm leaning more towards Mitch on this side. I think it's actually a pretty good offensive line, all things considered. Receiver, Pierre Garçon is back and healthy, which is good for them. Marquise Goodwin, the speedster, the boy. That's somebody that I actually really like. I've liked him all the way since back in his college days. The third receiver in depth-wise, I think, is pretty decent. Nothing great, but you're going to get some good production. I think Trent Taylor will be doing pretty decent. In terms of the defense, I don't think it's phenomenal. I don't think there's a lot to look forward to. And if you look at name value, Richard Sherman is their name value, maybe Reuben Foster, but that's about it. There's not a lot of whole name talent that you're going to look here, but you're going to look at some guys that are going to be a little underrated. They're going to go under the radar. I still like Solomon Thomas. Let's see if he can pick it up in year 2. You got Arik Armstead, who I think is very good at defensive end. Adrian Colbert. There's some good talent there on the defense. It just has to be determined whether or not they're going to be producing at a high level or even at a good level. We'll see how that goes. Looking at their schedule, they do have some pretty rough games. That Minnesota Vikings game week 1 is going to be a very difficult game for them to win, and I don't have them winning that game. Lions and Chiefs, I think they can win those games. Chargers, maybe not. Cardinals, I think they can win. Packers, Rams, those 2 games, I think they actually could beat the Packers. I don't think they'll beat the Rams. Cardinals again. Raiders, who I said is a hard team. And then, to Mitch's credit, look at the rest of the schedule they got to have past that moment. You have the Giants, who I don't think are going to be that good. The Buccaneers, who I think are going to do terrible. Seahawks, Broncos, Seahawks, Bears, and Rams. Those last 2 games maybe are going to be a little bit difficult, but are the Rams going to play in Week 17? You never really know if it's all really worth it at that point. And the Bears, we'll see going Week 16. But there's a lot of games in there that I think the 49ers have a good chance of winning, or at least have the momentum in the offensive side to put it down. And I think Jimmy G is going to do very good. And like I said, had it not been for tiebreakers, I think that this team could be a 6th seed. And I feel like they still could be a 6th seed, all things considered, and in the wild card round. It just depends on how solid the offense can be. Maybe they sink out a big victory. The key for me is that they can pick up one huge victory against a team that's near the top or in this good to great level, like the Vikings, like the Chargers, Rams, Packers, all that stuff. I want to see them get a clear victory against them and lead to next season. I didn't make this prediction before, and I've said it a lot. I didn't think the team was going to make the playoffs this year. I thought it was going to make it next year in the 2019 season, but maybe they go one step ahead and get it done in 2018. So I have them very, very close to the playoffs, just outside looking in.
Well, you guys have some nice expectations of the 49ers. I wish you all the best, but I think your hype train is a little bit misplaced.
Can I place a different jersey on you? Because I feel like the Seahawks jersey has culminated your brain, and that's why you're looking at this. We'll
get to the Seahawks.
It's okay. I mean, it's perfectly reasonable that the 49ers are not as good as we think. It's perfectly fine. It's his prediction, but he's wrong. It's his prediction.
He's not the only one that thinks that, though.
It's not the only one that thinks that. That's perfectly okay. I've been on the hype train since day one. I've been watching Jimmy G since in preseason. I've been watching the practice tape. No, I haven't, but in New England, I've seen what he can do. I think this guy has the it factor. I love Kyle Shanahan, and that's how we're gonna wrap this video up. 49ers playoffs, 10-6. Called it right.
7-0.
Very close to wild card. Well, close wild card.